talk today is created in the image, inspired by the verse from the book of Genesis, let us make man in our image and our likeness. Now, as a child, I didn't really get this because I thought God was an old man out there on the throne in heaven, which was like, I just imagined it like Mount Olympus. I mean, you're a little kid, you just use your imagination, use what you got, you use TV, you use your stories and cartoons. But in our society, we kind of have promoted this idea. Do you remember in the late 1970s, there was a movie called Oh God with George Burns. And then there was Bruce Almighty, where Morgan Freeman played God, wanting to go on a vacation. So he gave his divine powers to somebody else. We as humanity, we have been projecting on human attributes onto God for as long as there has been humanity. We've been telling stories about God in a human form. That's why God has qualities like jealousy and vengefulness and was going to smite people. So that was my view as a child, seeing God far off. But even as a young woman, when I started learning to use this noggin to think for myself, and I was still getting good at it, I still saw God as some kind of a Santa Claus being. And because I thought, well, God is this deity that bestows favors on his favorite people. And that's why you could have one person pray that the Yankees would win a baseball game and somebody else pray that the Dodgers win. And I don't even know if they actually play each other because I don't know anything about baseball, but only one of those teams would win. And then to hear people say things like, well, it was God's will. It was God's will, voting for a president. Or, well, it was God's will that so-and-so won. And so I had to think about this as I was growing up. Sometimes people who were absolutely lovely and kind and did so much good and service in this world would struggle. And their prayers weren't answered. And yet somebody else who maybe wasn't the nicest person in the world had everything they needed, life was really good. So it didn't make sense to me as a young woman. I felt like I was at the mercy of a deity kind of being out there. And really, what did I want matter if everything was God's will? I could try really hard and go to school and get good grades, but maybe it wasn't God's will. I'd become a doctor. So I just didn't know. So I felt completely disempowered when I was young. I felt like I was at the mercy of what that guy wanted for my life, right? I didn't think I had a choice in it. This is why I think one of the greatest gifts that the teacher, Jesus, gave to us was this idea that there's a higher order to things, but we must participate with it. And we participate with this higher order by focusing on the kingdom within us, focusing on the wonder that is God. And when we do that, life may not be perfect, but it will go smoother because we are participating with it. Jesus did teach that we were created in the image and likeness of our Creator. So back to this verse, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Let us make man in our image and likeness, male and female, and give him dominion over all the earth. And Elohim blessed them and said, go forth and be fruitful. So not only are we created in the image and likeness, but we are expected to prosper. That's going forth and being fruitful. Go forth and share your gifts. So we're created in the image and likeness, but as a child, I believed it was a physical likeness. That's why I thought God must be a little old man. What I had to learn, and coming here really is what helped me learn that, we're not in the physical image, we are in the spiritual image and likeness of our Creator. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word is intention and activity. That's how God creates, through intention and activity. It doesn't do us a lot of good to just think about something we want, but then never do anything about it. I could think about how badly I would like to have popcorn for dinner, but if I don't actually get up and make the popcorn, it's like the Peanuts Thanksgiving, right? If I don't make the popcorn, I don't get the popcorn. So we act, we have an intention, and then we take action toward that intention. So as the Creator creates in the universe, in the macrocosm. We are creating in our life our little microcosm of all this, and we're creating through our intention and our activity, just like our Creator, just a small version. We're just doing it in a small way. So it was coming here to Unity back in like 99 or 2000 that really helped me to start broadening my understanding of what it meant to be created in the image and likeness. Because here we have our 5 principles, And the first principle is that God is all things. That leaves nothing out. And I like how John put it in the book of John. Everything came from God, and there's not one thing that was created that didn't come from God. Not one thing. So God is all things. God is everything that's ever been, everything that's yet to be. God is everything we see growing on this planet, but God is also the ideas through the mind of humanity in creating these wonders in our lives. So God is everything, also the ideas. It's this principle that allows us to stretch our understanding so we can be better creators. We can participate more. The Apostle Paul told the Athenians that it's in God we live and move and have our being. So I have a little demonstration for you all today. Because first time I saw this years ago, it meant a lot to me. This is a little cup, and it represents our physical body. All right, and here's God, right? Just poured into us. This would be God within us. This is God within us, moving within us, having expression in us. But we also live and move and have our being within God. So there you go. That's really, yeah, right? Isn't that great? All that we experience in our life, all that we dream, all that we are, all that we have, is source energy or some expression of it. Some expression of it. We can never be separate from that universal power. We are always swimming in it. Our minds, however, we're schooled in duality. We're schooled that we are separate. The reason that you and I are not one is because here I stand right here, and I end here at the tip of my fingers, and you all are out there, and so there's a difference, right? There's a disconnection. When we walk away from each other, we get farther away. We can hug and be close. But sometimes we bring this into our spiritual life too, and I know how I used to do this. I would say something to myself like, well, I need to meditate because I just need to connect to the divine within me. Well, that's implying that I was disconnected. We're never disconnected. We cannot be disconnected, or we just wouldn't exist. We wouldn't exist. All right? So even the ancient cultures have the mythology where the spark of the divine is hidden within humanity. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, "By me is this entire universe pervaded. All things are in me, and I in them. Know that as the mighty blowing wind everywhere rests in the sky, all created beings rest in me. I am the father, the mother, the supporter, and the grandsire of the universe." The Hopi Indians talk about grandmother spider, and she's woven this web that everything is in this web. And you know, on a web, if something is over here and it trembles in the web, everybody in the whole web can feel it, right? That's how we're connected in the Hopi mythology. The Buddhist sutras talk about a net stretching out in all directions, and that's how we're connected. The ancient Chinese talk about the Tao, and we talk about it too, because it's ancient, but it's still here. But the Tao is the flow of the universe through all things. Now, this is God. The idea of God has actually reached the level of being in science now. There are scientific terms for God. Max Planck, a physicist, he was the originator of the quantum theory. He called it the conscious, intelligent mind, right? And we call it the divine mind. Now we can call it the quantum field, or we can just shorten it to the field. It's the field. I like, though, how Rumi puts it the best. Rumi says, "The source is within you, and this whole world is springing up from it." So we are deeply, deeply not just connected, but we are it. You don't connect two things. Well, two things had to be separate to become connected. We're more than connected. We are it. We are the emanation of source energy. So we are expanding our understanding and how we see source. We're expanding our understanding in this idea that it has infinite expressions. It would have to, because all things are source. So we are all individualized expressions of it, but also so is all the green and growing things that we see in all the animals. God is all things. God is the substance, and God is the possibility, the promise, the form. God is each of us we are God in expression. Our ideas, our dreams, our inspirations, all of this comes from the all, the one, the creator. So what does this mean for us then, to create as our creator creates? What does it mean to be created in the image and likeness of our creator? There are a lot of spiritual teachers out there who thought it was pretty important for us to understand this. And what it means is that we need to start looking at ourselves as the creator of our experience. We are creators because we're letting source create through us. We are not at the mercy of an outside deity that chooses for us. We're not at that deity's mercy. That would make us a bystander. That would make us pawns on a chessboard. Now I used to love the idea of a deity out there that would just tell me what to do, because I didn't want to make the wrong decision, right? I would freeze and I would just think, oh, just if I had a burning bush type sign, it would just tell me what to do, everything would be okay, right? But that's on us. We are the activity of God in this world, so we are responsible for our choices and our actions, the way that we are of service in the world. That's on us. We're responsible for participating with our lives. That's us. Now, when I was first coming here to Unity, and this was kind of a hard pill for me to swallow. You know, I was learning from our minister at the time was Reverend Joanne Bacon. She was a wonderful teacher, and we had classes here. Plus, I was involved in the New Age community, and everything that I was reading and learning was all telling me, all of the answers are within you. Just allow those answers to come to you, whether you want to call it your intuition, your higher self, the Holy Spirit, God within. Everything you need is within you. And I didn't like that, because so far I hadn't heard anything telling me. You know how many majors I had in college? I mean, I was thinking if I was being guided by God, why didn't God tell me right off the bat what I should be majoring in? I didn't think and I didn't feel like this was working for me. It just didn't feel like it was working for me. And then, to make matters worse, I had all these spiritual friends. And they were telling me things like, oh, my spirit guide told me that I had to go to this place today, and well, I went and saw a psychic, and and they're getting all this guidance, and I'm like, well, and I tried that for a while too. That didn't work for me either. I found out I could often tell it just what I wanted to hear, and that wouldn't work out so well all the time. We will never, ever, ever be comfortable relying on the indwelling spirit until we get comfortable with this idea that we are the divine in expression. We've got to go there first. Our divine self, our Christ nature. This was the nature that Jesus lived his life from. He was setting an example. He was not the great exception. He was trying to teach that all of us could do all of the things that he did. Right? He believed we were all children of God, that he wasn't set apart and special. Other than he just knew more stuff and he trusted. He trusted what was coming through him. That's why he could say, when he would raise the dead, right? He didn't worry about it. He didn't call all of his friends and say, what do you think? Do you think I should even try this? What if I end up looking stupid? Right? He just did what he felt like he should do next. In the Gospel of Thomas, he said, one who knows everything else but who does not know himself knows nothing. Like, we gotta know what's in here first. He says, when you understand yourselves, you will be understood, and you will realize that you are the sons of the living Father. Right? That living consciousness that is in and under and behind and above, that's just like flowing through all things. So we are the expression of God on this planet. Just all these different expressions, all these different disguises. That's what we're in right now. But our essence is divine, and our essence is always divine, whether we buy into that or not. It is always divine. We have within us right now, we have all of the attributes of the divine within us, just like Jesus had within him. We have all of these attributes. They may be sleeping. We may not be tapping into them. We may have them tucked into a box in our subconscious, under our subconscious bed, right? It's hidden away in there. But just like the acorn always has within it a program, a divine program, to grow into a mighty oak tree. If you take the acorn out of the woods and you put it in your jewelry box, like I have 15 acorns in my jewelry box at home, that program doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. Now the acorn still has to do the work of that actual growing, busting out of the little acorn shell that it's in. But we also have to do the same thing. The divine program is always within us. We have the potential to grow into our next highest expression. We have the potential to grow into this creative self, our dynamic self, our loving self. But it will remain just a potential until we are actually doing the work to create that in our life. So God's part in all of this is just being that God is all things, principle 1, and that means me, that means you. Principle 2, right? Again, from the 5 principles. So God is all things, and that means me. The divine is always within us, and we are always swimming in the divine. Everything we could possibly need comes through us first. It doesn't mean we have to do everything. You know, like if something was wrong with my car, like if I had a light come on my dashboard, I wouldn't think I had to fix the car. After 6 or 7 months, I would tell my husband that light had been on. And he could fix the car because he can do that kind of thing, right? That's how everything is contained within us. We either have the ability to do it ourselves or we get smart and know when to ask for help. So it's all within us, all within us. So this is our part then, and our part is principle 3, 4, and 5. We have to develop a practice that strengthens our spiritual self-esteem. Spiritual self-esteem is a thing because it's about our level of faith. Now, when I was a young adult, I had very low spiritual self-esteem. That's why I wanted somebody else to tell me what to do. So we develop our own spiritual self-esteem. And so we have a good level of spiritual self-esteem, a high level, if we know. We just know, we know without a doubt, God is working through us, for us, as us. We have everything we need, and we will be guided to that next thing. It doesn't mean we have to have a perfect life. We don't have to wait for the perfect life before we can say, oh, I have great spiritual self-esteem. Having good spiritual self-esteem means that we are participating with our life. We're taking action. We're trusting there's that within that's guiding us. And we just do that next thing. And that's what smooths out the bumps in the road for us. If we have low self-esteem, if we have low self-esteem, we may think, well, things always seem to just work out for other people, but things never work out for me. I just never get that lucky. I feel like I'm always swimming upstream, pushing against the tide, begging on closed doors, right? The universe just doesn't feel like a very friendly place. Now, it's kind of interesting as I was thinking about like spiritual self-esteem in our country. Now, when we have low spiritual self-esteem, we might resort to the dark tactics of manipulating other people, lying, being controlling, using fear to get somebody to do something for us. And like we kind of see that's kind of going on right now. There's a low spiritual self-esteem out there right now. But that doesn't have to be us. Because as we are bringing our light in and shining it out, like we're helping everything around us too. All right, so that's what we're doing is we're building a practice. We're building a practice to increase our own spiritual self-esteem. And this is a practice like any other practice that you would have to do. If you want to get a degree, you don't just pray to have the degree drop in your lap. You go to school and you take all the classes and you do all the work. If you want to get really fit, you do all the things you need to do to get really fit. You don't just sit home and pray to get really fit, right? You're taking action also. Practicing good spiritual self-esteem also takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work, a lot of practice. So we go through the principles, the first two principles, God is all things, and that means me. That's a given. That never changes. Never changes. We change how we perceive it. And some days we may not perceive it so well, but that never goes away. So we go to the third principle. This is where we start working this in our life. Third principle is about paying attention to how we think and act. Because how we think and act changes what we do next. If we're in faith and we're trusting what works through us, for us, as us, we know we're being guided. The next thing we do, it takes us toward the good experience we're wanting to create in our lives. But if we're in low spiritual self-esteem, maybe we're in victimization. And so that changes what we do next. We automatically will look at the universe as unfriendly, and things are hard, and nothing good ever happens. Right? So we pay attention to how we are thinking and acting. The fourth principle is commune with God, right? Go to the divine within. And there are a lot of ways that we can do that. We can meditate. Meditating, sitting quietly, just listening to hear, like what comes to you, right? What's it? Maybe an idea or an inspiration. My favorite way to commune is to ask questions. I walk around, like I have a little notebook I ask questions in. Did I bring it up here? No. But I have this notebook and I write questions in it, and then when I'm here during the week, I ask questions. And the more that we ask questions, the more we give the source opportunities to respond to us. Like, I mean, imagine you're sitting here with somebody here, right? And you ask them a question. What's your name? Okay. What's your favorite color? Right? The more questions you ask, what do you get back? You get information. If you sit here and continually ask somebody questions about themselves for 30 minutes, you'll learn a lot about this person. You'll get a lot of information. So we ask God questions all day long. Ask, what would it take for me to do this? What would it look like if I were to do this thing? Where's an area of my life where I need more clarity? Okay, just ask. Ask and receive. Ask and receive. We get new inspirations with all the questions that we ask. A new inspiration. Or something in our environment will pop up. And just like, and then you'll say, well, that was kind of weird. That's how you know you just got an answer. That was weird. Then we do the practice of denials and affirmations. Now, denial is not denying something, like, oh, life is really good and I'm okay. Like, or if it's 60 degrees outside, I'm warm, I'm all right, I'm fine. The weather's perfect outside today. That's not what I'm talking about. A denial, used with affirmation, denies that something can have power over us. So maybe somebody's worried about their physical health. So the denial part, this is like where it's casting your burdens, okay? All right, I'm worried about my health. Yeah, I have this thing going on. We're going to acknowledge how we feel. So yeah, I've got this thing going on. But then we move into our affirmations. But I know that there's divine intelligence at work in my body right now. My body is designed to move toward well-being. And so I listen and I pay attention to what it is my body wants. And if I go to the doctors and the nurses, they also have the same divine intelligence working through them, right? This divine is everywhere and everywhere present. Okay, so that's how we work with a denial and an affirmation. And then the fifth principle happens to be the fourth of the four agreements. We just keep doing our best, that we're living the truth that we know the best that we can, because it's a practice. It's a practice to walk this walk. We just keep practicing. I remember the first time I did complaint-free living. You wear a bracelet on one hand and you try to keep it on one hand for 21 days. And that's the goal. And it took me like 4 months to get that 21 days. But you know, the last time I did it was just like, within the last couple of years, I went straight through 21 days. Like, it was crazy. Well, the first time I did it was 2007. And I've practiced it a lot, okay? So we just keep practicing. So we are created in the image and likeness of our Creator. We have everything that we could possibly need. It all comes from within us. And we don't have to do anything special to earn it. Don't do anything special to earn it. You're already the essence of the divine, right? No matter what you do. God provides us with the means. So we were created in the image and likeness. We're divinely designed to call forth the joy and the love, the prosperity, the compassion, the creativity, our dynamic self, inner resourcefulness, but we have to take action, right? Do these principles, or follow the 4 agreements, right? If you've never read this book, but you've read the 4 agreements, do the 4 agreements. Those work really well. God provides us with all the tools, but we have to do something with them, right? We're using them. So we watch our thoughts and our feelings, we commune with the divine within us, and we just keep doing this best, our best. So over this next week, I'm going to invite you to do this mantra with me. Kevin, you want to go ahead and show us our affirmation? Okay, so we'll just say, and I'm going to put hand movements in with it too, okay? So start like this with your hands on your heart. God is all things, and that means me. God is all things, and that means me. All right, I invite you to do this like so much over this next week. And it'll probably feel kind of awkward if you're not used to it, right? Like snapping my purple bracelet from one hand to the next. That was kind of weird. But it did feel awkward to me, like when I first started living these, like really paying attention to my thoughts. But you know what? It's just like driving a car. You know, when you first get in a car, how weird it is. Everything. You've got to steer this big metal beast, and then I had to drive a stick shift. I don't know about y'all. And then there's the rear view mirror and the side view mirror. And then there's this that you're watching out your window. And then there's the carnival of life that's happening beside you and people doing crazy things on the sidewalks. Okay? So it can feel that awkward at first. Like there's so many things to pay attention to. But the more we do this, God is all things and that means me. And I use it especially when I find myself lamenting about something. Oh, why are people so mean? Why is there so much division? Okay, wait, Deanna. God is all things, and that means me. I can receive solutions. That's what I'm designed for, right? That's what we're all designed for. So you were created in the image and likeness of your Creator. You have all the tools that you could possibly need, and you have within you this brilliant mind that can practice all of this. And it is our practice of calling that divine essence through us and out into our life that creates heaven on earth. And that's what we were designed to do. We were designed to have abundance and joy in our life. We were designed to thrive. Heaven on earth is calling the divine into our life. That's what heaven on earth is. That's what we were designed to do. So until next time, remember that you are the activity of God in a body right here and right now. You are the heart and the hands and the soul and the feet of God in this world. And everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is.
Amen.
Amen.